Okay, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. On Monday, according to the news, the Senate President and his deputy, Ekweremadu, will be arraigned before the courts. That's what we'll look at. It's in the nature, some would say, of almost a spectacle. You have the Senate President in the same party with the President and the ruling party, yet there is this imbroglio on our hands, and there's much important work to be done. The nation, however, is distracted, I think, I'm speaking for myself, by this. This is valuable time, valuable public space that could be used to be doing, part of the work, the real work. But here we are. To help me look at this, interestingly, both of them happen to be of APC itself, but then that was almost accidental. Professor Tunde Samuel, APC chieftain, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Pleasure being with you.
It's a delight to have you again. And Dr. Tunji Abayomi, constitutional lawyer, and as we say, a professional in politics. Thank you very much for coming on. Now, Prof. Samuel, it's been a while, so I'm going to start with you. You haven't checked us out in a long while, so it's good to have you. I think it's something of a spectacle. The Senate President and his deputy, according to all the reports, are going to be arraigned. In fact, there are all sorts of headlines now. Why Saraki and deputy must face criminal charges. It's a sorry pass, isn't it?
You will recall that when we took up this issue a few months ago, and I predicted that the political calculus will alternate. 72 hours later, it did alternated. I cannot see how we can continue to celebrate political indiscipline and rascality within the polity. I find it difficult to believe. I cannot see how somebody can belong to a party and then you will not take instruction from that party. Wherein lies your loyalty? I think that's the basis of this crisis.
So that's what it comes down to at the
It
end
is.
of the day.
It is. There must be party discipline.
And I'm trying to find a way out of this, even though it can't be done, Dr. Abayomi. From what Prof has just said, political indiscipline is not going to be taken lightly. It will not be tolerated, in fact, and so we're moving to where we're moving. Had there not been that disagreement, then we would not have come to this pass.
No, I don't share that position. Professor is looking at it from the political angle. But I look at it strictly as a lawyer and from the legal angle. First and foremost, it's impossible to make progress in this country unless you have institutional integrity. I'm not talking of personal integrity, I'm talking of institutional integrity. Now, if you look at the Western society, one thing that distinguishes them is the fact that they guard their institutions, the institutional integrity, jealously, and they ensure that it's not eroded or polluted by corrupt individuals or wrong officials. Now, if we look at the pattern of thinking of the government, the present government, is working towards that. The Minister of Finance, there's a small disagreement now between his staff and the minister. The minister said, look, I'm not going to pay you allowances that is not budgeted for. I mean, there's no room for that kind of allowance. And if there's no room for it, if there's no budget for it, I'm not going to pay you. The president came back, he called all his staff of the villa and spoke to them about the thinking of this administration. Prior to that, he told the ministers to wash their hands and their minds with regard to state the wealth of Nigeria, and that any of you that is caught will be prosecuted. Now, we have a situation now where there was a complaint by senators that the law, the rules that is to guide their affairs had been altered without their knowledge and contrary to due process. This complaint was investigated by the statutory body that is to investigate, that is the police. And having investigated, the police recommended prosecution. Now, under 174 of the imperfect constitution, the Attorney General is empowered to initiate prosecution against anybody who is against whom there is allegation of criminality. Now, my confusion now is this. Now, are people asking, people are complaining, are they saying that the process, the due process should not be followed? Or that there should be sacred cow? Because my understanding is that everybody is subject to the rule of law. And some people are saying that the president should call his attorney general. The president will be acting illegal and unconstitutionally because he swore to preserve the constitution. He has only one job, apart from the few jobs that he can appoint ambassadors and then ambassadors, his cabinet and prerogative of mercy. If we take those 3 jobs out of the constitution, he has only one job: to execute the laws and the constitution.
Okay, and this is being done in full measure, Prof, in the case of the leadership of the Senate, Saraki and Ekweremadu. However, I don't think even Dr. Abayomi is going to deny the fact that the whole brouhaha started when the man went against the will and wish of his party and contrived to install himself contrary to the wish. Now, that is a fact to one side, as I've heard it from a lot of APC people. But it's Dr. Abayomi has also pointed what, I don't know, give me your impression on the legal aspect that he has pointed out.
Well, I think Dr. Abayomi has, in his thesis this morning, has been able to romance enough legal gyrations.
Legal gyrations.
Serious one today. He has been citing legal instruments to take care of party indiscipline. It's not only politics now we are talking, according to his own thesis, but from the angle of the law. The Senate President has erred in law if it is a fact that the rules of procedure have been altered.
Will be truly altered.
That is the kernel of Dr. Abayomi's thesis this morning.
Yes.
And if it is a fact that he has erred in law, he or his accomplices must be made to face the music. And I think that is where the calculus is swinging to now, between now and Monday. The calculus.
You see, it's this calculus.
Yes.
Because when we're talking politics and we're also talking mathematics.
We must. We must be able to measure what we are saying. The verifiability theory of meaning tells me what you cannot say, what you cannot see, don't say it.
Yes.
That's what Dr. Abayomi has done.
Yes.
The law of semantic empirism in research, don't say what you cannot prove. And that's where the lawyers call themselves learned people.
Yes.
Because they don't flirt with things that they cannot prove.
And this very proof, you see, we now have on our hands, we have the proof, staying with the mathematical idiom, we now have the proof of, the theory.
Yes.
Because I remember in examinations they ask, you can't just write the answer, you've got to also show your proof. And I think what Dr. Abayomi has done to a lot of people is, that is the proof. However, the kernel, as you said, Prof, was maybe what your party saw as political rascality, indiscipline, or maybe it's even a lot worse than that, maybe outright political disloyalty, perhaps.
Absolutely.
And so that...
anything can initiate anything. I mean, with due respect, political gyration can lead to criminal prosecution. I don't think
if you overplay your hand,
cause is really the issue here. The point that is essential is that in this nation, the leaders tend to believe that they can do anything and get away with it.
And in this case, they're going to make the best effort to prove that you cannot do that anymore.
Yeah, and more importantly, let me emphasize something. This nation will never make progress unless we prosecute our leaders. In fact, the people that ought to be subjected to the rigidity of the due process of law and the law itself are the leaders, because Nigeria is destroyed largely by the leaders of Nigeria, not by the people. If we understand the issue, they are the people that believe they are above the law. The law largely is essentially meant to terrorize the ordinary people. So now, this is the truth of the matter.
You mean that's the way they've been deploying the law? That's not what the law is meant to do.
This is it. You see, look, you are driving. If I a senator, even when you violate the law, does it stop you? You don't even have to be a senator. You just have to be somebody. Ordinary people are kept there, even when they are going with their banana or plantain, struggling.
Yeah, but the point is, an example is going to be made this time.
Yes, and
subject to how the court sees it.
What I'm saying is that once we subject and surrender leadership to go through the due process of law, they will begin to be careful in managing the affairs of the nation.
Okay.
Now, as it is now, we think that, oh, because he's senator, because it's this and all this noise that the senators are making, saying that it is separation of powers. What separation of powers? Is it not the same law they make that and they empower the executive to execute that is being executed?
Okay. Prof, if I were to go into a bit of imaginative composition now, so that we can understand this, because we're talking here in this conversation about political calculus. Not everybody is adept at mathematics, never mind going into calculus, but it's still there. The imaginative composition I'm talking about, it can only be one of two things. Either the court says, no case to answer, go and be merry and go and be happy, or the court says, indeed, there is action here. The next step will then, the worst case scenario is that the charge as laid will stick. You know, theoretically, one or the other, either go home or the charge sticks. Now, if it sticks, have the implications of that been thought out, and what might it be? And that's my area of imaginative composition. If suddenly the Senate President is now incapacitated legally from doing his job, the deputy who is also part of this, so what would the scenario be like imaginatively? What would be the aftermath?
First and foremost, we must look at what I call the domino effect.
Okay.
Of such a decision. First and foremost, it is meant to sanitize political leadership and the political space. If the President of the Senate is seen not to be guilty, it is the court of law that will so say.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what annoys me most, and most Nigerians, is the current political grandstanding in Senate. It's highly abhorrent to me. If you feel an infraction, and let me use the jargon of the lawyers, if you feel there's an infraction has been visited on you and you don't deserve it, you head for the court of law.
Precisely.
For a redress. And the court of law is competent to take decision on your matter. But when you begin with the Jankara approach to the Roforofo fight, you want to use boldface.
We're going to make life difficult for the presidency. We won't cooperate.
Or the attorney general, summoning him.
The political chicanery cannot work. Yori, it cannot work. It's either, take for instance now, we're talking about the noise making about Fayose too. If Fayose felt in the last 1 week or two, his name has been maligned.
Yes.
In a civilized society, Yori, for God's sake, the court of law is to
You
so
can
decide.
initiate action.
Let us for once be civilized. I don't like this political grandstanding. If the Senate is sanitized, heaven will not fall. For God's sake. I am totally in support of the current approach because it has domino effects on the polity and the political space.
And it could lead to something of a clean sweep
That's what
in the Senate.
Of course.
And if so, so be it.
Yes.
Dr. Abayomi, as you say, we're being theoretical here, imaginative compositions.
Yes.
It's either discharged and acquitted and free, or no, there are issues here. In fact, extending it to the end, if they are guilty, we then know that they cannot continue in their current office. And so we now start again. We start and we would rebuild a new leadership in the Senate. And that is the way it would go.
Yeah, but like Professor said, the domino effect is just very paramount and important for this nation, because it will have effect touching the consciousness of leaders in every sector. Now,
That is not business as usual
yes,
anymore.
if you see the tragedy of this country is exemplified by the bad, terribly bad financial leadership under the last government. By law, no money is expected to be expended by the executive without the approval of the National Assembly on behalf of the people. Now, see what has happened. Incredibly reckless abandon of the rule of law. Just expenditure that is totally even cruel to the imagination. A lot of Nigerians begin to ask, is it possible that individuals can control such incredible amount of money, public money, that if we even take it out of American economy, America will shake? This is a nation that has no city has water in this nation. You cannot go on 50 kilometers of road without a problem. You cannot get any decent hospital. We send all our children, all our sick people to India, all over the world. Yes. We send all our children who want education either to Ghana, even to Gambia, London, everywhere. And yet, see the tragedy of Nigeria, a nation that was at par with Malaysia, Hong Kong, lots of them. We had television before France. We had women franchise can vote before many Western countries. See where we are today. Why are we where we are today? To be pitied in the nation, in the world. So purely because of leadership malfeasance.
And apparently it's a policy of APC that has to stop.
Yes.
And this is an opportunity, since this presented itself, to sort of indicate, if I'm understanding it correctly, the seriousness of those words, that it wasn't just mouthing them on the campaign trail. But as you said, something about the domino effect. I can understand that. It will have far-reaching effects.
Seriously.
But there are those who are also saying that, look, the polity, first of all, APC is very mixed up right now because of how it came to win the election. It needed, allies and that kind of a thing. So APC, although it is APC, there are still very, very, shall we say, keen, people that came from other parties. I'm not really sure the extent to which they've given up their ways and ideologies and manners of their previous parties, that APC is probably now finding not too comfortable, and we have to sort that out. Is there a sense in which APC is like realizing now that, we made a bloody mistake?
When you have an amalgam of different political lineages coming together to seize power via the ballot box, you must expect what is happening. That's point number one. The second issue has to do with the mantra of the party. It is necessary for us to educate the public about the concept of change in development studies. What people resist most all over the world is change, not only in Nigeria. why do they do that? You cannot discuss change without the icing. Change has an icing. The icing on the cake of change is innovation. No change can thrive anywhere in the world without the icing on the cake.
Okay.
It is that innovation now that is generating furor all over the country. People don't want that. You see, nobody has ever introduced this type of innovation of trying to arrest or trying to accuse a president of Senate in the history of this country.
The innovation of accountability.
Yes, it's the icing on the cake of development. In development balance, that is the problem now. People they will buy change, but
they don't want the cake of change.
Yeah, they don't want
the icing.
They don't want the innovation.
And the cake is not complete
Which
without the icing.
Which ordinarily we refer to as not business as usual. That's the icing on the cake of change.
And that's what we're asking for, to improve this country.
Without the icing, without the icing.
And I want to say something. I don't know if I can go ahead. You know, people must realize that this change that we are talking about is not targeted against any particular group.
No.
I mean, after all, the president of the Senate, is he a member of APC? Is he a leader of APC? It happened just recently, just in the last 1 week. One of the governments of APC, demanded a bribe from ordinary people who paid. They paid some 1 or 2 million, and they paid because they wanted something from the government. And they happened to be my client, and obviously they didn't want to tell me about it. And I made them tell me. Otherwise, I leave your case. So they were forced to tell me. Oh, I said, is that so? Well, we're asking for change. Change means that it must begin with us. So I just sent something to the man who collected it on behalf of his official, and I gave him a few days to return the money in his own interest. He must, as I said, and I repeat, must return. That government is put there to protect the rest of the people, not to injure their rights. Of course.
Okay, so you advised
the money was returned.
Yes. And the matter didn't proceed.
It didn't
to beyond that point.
It didn't proceed beyond that point.
Using that metaphor,
yes.
Prof, the money, but it's not real money now. In this Saraki Ekweremadu case, could it not be returned in the sense, and then we said, or have we long passed that stage about let's make amends now that I see that the people are not going to be accommodating of our antics? Have we passed that stage? Is there nothing that can be done between today and Monday when they are scheduled to be arraigned? And it's not just the Senate President and his deputy, they're also the former clerk and his deputy. All of them are in this together on this allegation of forgery. Even though Dr. Abayomi has painted it very, very clearly that there is a criminal charge of forgery. Nevertheless, things are worked out politically. Is there no working out possible anymore?
I told this particular station, I
beg your pardon, sir.
Okay.
Let me just take Mr. George, who called in from Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you, and good morning to the elderly men in front of you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uncle Yori, I think it is high time we begin to set sentiments aside on this Saraki case. The handwriting is clear on the wall. Saraki is a thorn in the flesh of the objective of the government we elected. He is there to truncate it. If you give me 1 minute, I'll just give you 2 or 3 examples. Number one, for 6 months, when this government came into place, it did not allow it to take off smoothly. We wasted more than 6 months because Saraki wanted to realize his personal ambition. Then take a look at the laws that he has been working on and promulgating since he got there. One is they are trying to pass a law that will weaken the president, that will strip him of powers to award contracts for which he will be held responsible in this country if they are not executed. is they are trying to make laws that when they pass laws in the Senate or in the National Assembly, they will no longer require the approval of the president or the consent of the president for those laws to come to place. They are saying that they will have immunity. They are trying to, legislate immunity for legislators. So where are we going from here? They want to make
can we hear a bit more? The volume is a bit low.
The president, are you hearing me, sir?
Please continue, sir.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you now.
The president powerless. Is that the reason? Is that why we elected them? Just look at you yourself. Just take a look at the trend. Such a person or such a group of people that know that they do not mean well for this country, anything should be done to get rid of them. Let's not be sentimental about it. The interest of the country is what counts. And whatever is necessary to be done to get rid of these people should be done. That is where I stand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we continue, I think we should just go on a quick break, but don't go anywhere, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. And just before we went, Mr. George had called in from Ikeja, and his bottom line was that let that which needs to be done be done. You can't have people or an institution, in this case the Senate, holding the president to ransom. And Prof was going to comment on that.
Yes, last year, you will recall, I made a categorical statement on this station that Saraki's palaver must be situated within the conspiracy theory. And that Saraki is not going down alone. If you recall very well, Mr. Yori, Saraki will not go down alone. It goes
that is if anybody goes down.
Of course, maybe. And if you look at that, and you take the scenario since last year's October here in this studio, you will see how the situation has been degenerating. But I can tell you, Nigerians are waiting. Nigerians are waiting.
But Senate President Saraki hasn't said very much. We've seen some actions. We've seen actions from that house. But in terms of utterances, it doesn't really matter.
No. What I'm saying is this. The Senate cannot take Mr. President hostage indefinitely. That's what I'm saying now. That's what they're trying to do in the last 6, 7, 8 months.
Because they're not letting up, unfortunately.
Yes.
They're not leaving any room for...
And Nigerians are watching. Maybe for the first time, the next type of revolution is not going to be a coup d'etat or anything. Civilians will march on the Senate and sack the Nigerian Senate.
Okay. Mazi Okorafor, good morning, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Comrade Mazi Patrick Okorafor. I'm calling from Obrode here in Arusiku. I want to find out from Professor Tunde. Sir, the calculus in Nigerian politics today, a situation whereby the Senate President and his deputy will not be available. God forbid back in the Red House by Tuesday. What will happen based on your mathematical calculus in Nigerian politics? That's what Professor Tunde. And my question to Dr. Abayomi, sir. Today, UK is no longer in the European Union. How do you see Nigerian situation with the latest development in Nigerian politics? Thank you very much.
Okay.
I didn't get the question.
I didn't understand. He talked about Brexit, that Britain has voted to exit the European Union. But Prof, he was talking about, he was wondering about the calculus, wasn't he?
The calculus remains valid. The ultimate is to make the regime unsuccessful.
That's what it looks like.
That's the ultimate. And if you critique the body language of Senate so far, Senate is not likely to change. And I don't want Nigerians to continue to situate Saraki within APC. I have said it and I'm repeating myself. Nigerians continue to situate Saraki within APC.
Okay.
Saraki is not situating himself within APC.
Okay.
Within the conspiracy theory.
Okay. 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 Is there anybody on the line? Yes. Good morning, Mr. Yakub. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, Shivyori, good morning, sir. And then good morning to two elderly man and the white two people in the studio. Yeah, Shivyori, let me begin by saying this. I was so disappointing in Senator Dino Melaye because I have reason for saying that. If you look at, yesterday I watched him live. If you look at all his submission, he was saying a lot of things that against the Mr. President. But forget something. Mr. President does not prosecuting anybody. Mr. President does allow the institution to take its course. Yes. The issue is this. The Mr. Abayomi already tell us something there in the studio. The police investigation the issue. And then they found out that these people have a case to answer. And then who is the position to prosecuting them? It's the Attorney General of the Federation. And then Mr. President allowed the Attorney General to take his work. In fact, if Attorney General does not prosecuting them, Mr. President should remove him because he does allow these people and then he was not taking his job right. The reason is this. And then the PDP senator announced that withdraw their supporting Mr. President and whatever. And then they forget that Mr. President was not the one that write the petition to police. It was a senator, the member, also in the district senator, write a petition to police that our standing rules are being forged. What concerns Mr. President in this issue now? See, Nigeria, we should wake up. We should not be docile anymore. We should just march and pursue this people out of that because they are not distributing anything. Because they are just protecting their pocket. Saraki is doing whatever he is doing. He is going because the thing is fought. They are forging the rules. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, an angry Mr. Yakub. Because there are a lot of people that are angry about this whole matter. If you just look at it, there's no way to look at it. Prof has put it succinctly. The activities in the Senate appear to those of us outside here who are not learned that these people are trying to spoil the hand of the president, as we say locally. But Prof put it more, in a proper terminology about they're trying to make the administration fail. And I think Nigerians are on to them.
Well, my concern is that why the undue focus on the personality of the president? Why do you hold him responsible for everything? There are institutions. The presidency itself is an institution. The presidency is an institution. Let us not forget that the institution of the presidency is subject to the rule of law too in this country. If the president misbehaves, he can be impeached. And if he violates the law that he's supposed to protect, he can also be impeached. So I do not understand the undue focus on the president with regard to institutional responsibility. What we are talking about here is purely institutional responsibility. And let me say something. In most civilized countries, the worst thing is for leadership to alter the law or the procedure to their benefit.
That will tantamount, as it were, to changing the game, changing the goalpost
in the middle of the match.
Wasn't that why there was a revolution against the third term of Olusegun Obasanjo?
Yes.
His people or him wanted the third term, howsoever, and the people said no, that is inappropriate. I was very close to the president, to President Olusegun Obasanjo, and I wrote an article at the back of this day condemning the attempt to have a third term. Until we have leadership and institutions and processes that is objective, not subjective. Until we can test leaders in the courts, We're not going to move anywhere in this country.
Maybe let me take this question and from home, and then I'll come and ask. I've heard some people saying, well, you see, the separation of powers and all of that, and so the president has to meet people halfway. They themselves have to meet the president halfway. I'll come back to that. Mr. Ogunubi, thank you very much for holding on all this while. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, this thing has started at the issue from the day they were to meet at the Senate for election. I mentioned sometime earlier that it was a tripartite coup. This involved the Senate president with 8 members of the APC that met in the former leader's house. Mm-hmm. And after the election, went straight, after the election, the legal election at the Senate where he was appointed, he went straight to meet the former vice president. That was the first port of call.
That was the first
mentioned that day, that was it was a tripartite coup. And it's that coup they planned in the former Senate president's house that is still lingering now to destabilize the current government. Note.
Okay, we should note that we should recall that's indeed going back to the archives. That is indeed what did happen. You remember it? The very, very day after Senate President Saraki emerged, the very next morning he actually was with Atiku Abubakar in the nature of a courtesy visit. There are a lot of people that sort of cocked an eyebrow at that. What it means, if it means anything, is left to the imagination of many. But Mr. Ogunubi here recalls it and thinks it's a factor in where we are now, where we have reached now. But you are staying with the law, Dr. Abayomi, and saying, let us take out all emotionalisms. Let us take out all explainers.
Meet with anybody he wants.
And and let's just look at the law. The charge is that there was a forgery of the rules of the Senate that enabled, such forgery enabled the emergence of Senator Saraki.
Yes. And it's also a matter of constitutionality. They are also saying that his emergence violated, has no foundation in law. Because you cannot emerge unless you emerge according to the rules accepted and approved.
Otherwise, it's what you lawyers call a nullity.
Yes, you cannot place something on nothing and expect it to stand. It cannot stand. So what they are in essence saying, those who petition, senators who petition, they are raising fundamental issue that we have not constituted the leadership of the Senate according to law, according to our rules. Rather, it is based on criminal alteration of the rules. Now, we are now talking of institutional integrity. What manner of institution do we want lawmakers who are supposed to give law to this country, a law that is to control the action of everybody, including the president? When gold rusts, then what will iron do?
There's a problem. Honorable Ismail has called in. Good morning.
Good morning, sir, Mr. Onkuyori. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to my leader, Professor Tunde. And good morning to Dr. Abayomi.
Morning, thank you.
But my name is Honorable Ismail from Mainland Convention 1, North Island, Mainland Convention 1, Honorable Ismail Mati. I just have a few questions to ask the House. One, is Saraki more big than the Constitution of Nigeria? Is Saraki more powerful than the judiciary? Saraki has been guilty of his charges. He should be prosecuted. Nobody is more powerful than the Constitution or judiciary. Saraki don't have the right to behave as if he owns Nigeria.
All right.
We are Nigerian and we are watching all the movement. I want to know where he's going to. Saraki is not making Buhari work to show. It has been a problem for Buhari since he has his own selfish interests. I believe Nigerians are watching where the case is going to.
All right.
I just look and see how Saraki and his remaining colleagues behaving in Senate House yesterday.
All right,
I was
then.
surprised if things going like this and Saraki has not been prosecuted. It means Nigeria is going nowhere. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ismail. Prof, again, since Monday is just 3 days away, so we'll know for sure. But in the meantime, we can't help just thinking about the different configurations. What if, yes, if Saraki gets the book thrown at him, but not Ekweremadu? So you might have a situation, might we not? Is it entirely silly to think that so Ekweremadu might, by default, become the Senate president if, for instance, he is unscathed?
Earlier on, Dr. Abayomi hypothesized that whether Saraki visited the former vice president or not does not mean it's immaterial. But to a great extent, it matters. To a great extent, it matters. And that visit started during the presidential primaries of the APC. The conspiracy started after the presidential primaries. The outcome of the presidential primary gave birth to that conspiracy.
I see. Because former Vice President Atiku was a contender himself.
But a strong one, because he felt he has all the necessary financial muscle to win that candidacy, and he lost. It's not going to be easy for him to forget and forgive like that. That is the origin of the conspiracy. No more, no less. Simplicity.
And coming from you, Prof,
yes.
I think this is more than an allegation. It will be a statement of facts as seen by an insider.
It is. It is. You know, I've said it several times, that power is the most romantic element in the world. This station is prettier than Miss World.
It's prettier than
Miss World.
Everybody wants her.
And the aroma can make anybody run mad. The aroma of power.
And therefore, you probably think that we're in a season of political madness right now.
Given the appurtenances of office.
Who is on the line? Taufik from Oshobo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
And good morning to the Prof and the elderly man in the studio.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
My contribution is that, but the first question I need to ask is our legislators above the law? If those that are making law, as I said yesterday on this program, if those making the law cannot obey the law, then who do they expect to obey the law? We should be frank to ourselves, for God's sake. They are the one legislating the law and for the judiciary to interpret. And now you that made a law, the judiciary now is calling on you to come for you for the interpretation of the law you made. You are not running away. You should go and face the music. If you are free, you are free. This is an allegation. And please, on media, I want the media to always pick the story the way it is. Let Nigerians know that it is not Buhari that petitioned them. It is their member. They should be nagging on it. They know that it is their member. They should mention his name, if possible, play the clip for the whole Nigerians to see. But they should know that it's not the president that is petitioning them. And for God's sake, because of that allegation now, you are now saying that their petition list is being suspended. Is it the president that sent the petition to the EFCC, to whoever?
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Taufik. I appreciate your calling in. And as he points out that, and you have said so here before him, that this was a matter that was initiated from one of their own. The senator that got up and said he had a point of order. And that the standing rules upon which all of this was based had been forged.
But the point is that apart from that, this will give this nation an opportunity to take a good look at that National Assembly. You know, we've been complaining about diverse neuroses emanating from that National Assembly. They are what I call pitiless tendencies as to the condition of people in this country. Now, if you look at recent issues, we are talking of terrible economy. You are preoccupied with buying a Jeep, Land Cruiser. We are talking of managing the resources. There are also who gave themselves constituency allowance illegally and unconstitutionally. So there are lots of issues that this particular sanitization, the domino effect of this process is even whether the president and all the other accused people are innocent, found innocent or guilty, it will at least establish a first principle that leadership in this nation can be subjected to the rule of law, can be taken to court, can be charged. So what I expected them to do, if they are really very serious as lawmakers, is to say, well, I'm going to prove my innocence in the court of law.
Okay.
Instead of waging war against the executive.
Against the presidency, exactly. Mr. Babalola from Port Harcourt, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I recommend of everybody on the studio.
Yes.
Good job from you, Eda.
Yeah.
Please, Nigeria are white. Even civilians are white, which is everybody is interested to know what is going on in Nigeria. I personally know the major people that is causing problem in Nigeria is senators. If everybody can even think, they delay the budget, one. Secondly, me personally, I believe nobody is above the law. If EFCC or whatever invites the Senate President and his deputy, other people should remain and let them go and face the trial. Please. They didn't need to hold Mr. President ransom, please.
No.
They need to allow this man. This man is plain. He wants everything to be plain to Nigeria. So that everybody will know what is going on.
All right, then.
Because
Thank you very much for calling in. Mr. President, I remember the quote that when this whole imbroglio was at its formative stage, Mr. President had said that, look, I can work with anybody. I'm not going to interfere. Maybe this is, and since Mr. President is also a part of APC, not only a part of APC, he's the leader, so to speak, of APC.
Yes.
Coming from that statement of I can work with anybody, and where we are at now, where these guys might be arraigned by Monday, was it that Mr. President didn't complete his statement at the time if he had known more than he had known that I can work with anybody so far as he emerges legally?
Well, I think we need to draw a distinction between the geography of the entire scenario now and the position of Mr. President. What is on ground now is not Mr. President.
No.
We are talking purely about public morality. Simplicity. If senators cannot have public morality, and I said this, I've said it here several times, that was why, and you are always smiling when I made that statement last year, that I did not believe, as a member of the National Conference, I did not believe in the National Conference. And in the closing, during the closing session, I made it succinctly clear, as if I was prophetic, that the survival of Nigeria's democracy after 2015 general election will depend on two major crucibles: electoral sanctity and judicial integrity.
Okay.
Everything is playing out now.
Those
It's playing out.
everybody has their supporters. So I imagine even those on the side of the Senate President and those who are facing this whole situation, they sometimes talk about, look, even if we're going to go this way, let's be even-handed about it. There are people.
It's not about Mr. President.
No, I'm not talking about Mr. President
Yes,
now.
it's not.
I'm talking about the quest for moral sanctity. You know that.
Of course.
Why can't we be a bit more? What is it now? Even-handed with this. It would appear, so the allegation goes, that you are aiming at some gadflies within the polity.
The ultimate is to create anarchy. Look at the unfolding scenario in the last 6 months. You see anarchy par excellence.
Okay. Honorable Sunday, thank you very much for holding on, sir. Please go ahead now.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I think we are necessarily advertising Senator Saraki and whoever that is also alleged to have been involved in that forgery of the thing. If really forgery allegation has been established against this person as is being alleged, the federal government should continue and prosecute them because they are not above the law. Nigerians voted them into power, never encourage them to go there.
All right,
be involved in criminality.
All right.
So I really commend the Abayomi and the elder professor who are educating Nigerians. Thank the media.
Indeed, thank you very much. Appreciate your call. So there you go. We've come to the end of the program, and just about everybody who has called in has said that, look, it's a matter of the law, so you know, so well set out by constitutional lawyer Dr. Abayomi that if we stay with the legal aspects of this whole matter, and the law is not really interested in anything else.
I want to say some just final statement. We still have a problem of
10 seconds.
investigating how our money
yes
is spent by that National
Of
Assembly.
course.
I gave an example.
No, sorry, we've run out of time.
Okay.
But you said it here that this now gives an opportunity, it would
to
appear,
look at lots of issues.
to x-ray a lot of things that Nigerians have been complaining about.
Yes.
Well, we wait till Monday and then we'll know for sure which way the pendulum swings. I imagine they probably be getting very little sleep between now and Monday. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Tunde Samuel, APC chieftain, and Dr. Tunji Abayomi, constitutional lawyer, and indeed APC chieftain himself. The man who actually, if the electorate agree, would like to be governor of his home state. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week, God willing. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.